Rocco the Rockstar, Happy Holly Hogs. Elmer, asked Louise softly. Yes, Louise. What do you think England will be like? Well, I think it will be very green, with lots of trees and castles, and everyone will be very polite and offer us scones for tea, replied Elmer knowingly. Really? Said Louise, her eyes wide with excitement. I can't wait to get there. It sounds amazing. Elmer, asked Louise, sounding a little bit worried. Yes, Louise. Why are we stuck here, and where are all the trees and scones? I don't know, Louise, replied Elmer gently, as he could tell she was on the verge of tears. This isn't what I was expecting either, but Santa sent us here for a reason, so we just have to trust it will work out. Chin up, Louise, continued Elmer, and wriggle your toes or you'll get cramp. Come on, let's wiggle, he said, trying to lift the mood. Before Louise knew it, they were both wriggling and laughing. Well, who have we here? Thought Rocco, as nosy as ever, giving the elves a good sniff. They don't smell like dogs, and they don't look like dogs, and they're not cats or humans. Rocco tilted his head to one side, looking at them quizzically. He looked at Sassy, as she normally knew everything, but she looked as confused as him. Hey, Charlie, exclaimed Rocco's mummy. Look at these two elves. Aren't they adorable? Yes, they are. I wonder what they're doing here, replied her friend Charlie. I'll go in the shop and ask, said Mummy, walking into the shop with Rocco following close behind her. Hello, Rocco, said the lady behind the counter. Rocco often visited the charity shop with Charlie when Mummy was at work. The kind ladies there always gave him a biscuit or two, while Charlie was trying on hats and sunglasses and other random, brightly coloured things. Well, it's a shame, really, the lady in the shop explained to Mummy. A lady from Yelp came in the other day, and she was complaining that the elves were too big, and she said she didn't want them anymore. She was actually on the way to the rubbish tip to dump them. And then she saw a shop and decided to stop and drop them off. Rocco's ears pricked up, and he stood perfectly still. Did she say the lady was going to take the elves to the rubbish tip? Rocco knew what life on a rubbish tip was like. He had to save these funny little creatures that his mummy called elves. He leapt into action, dashing outside and picking up Elmer in his mouth. Hey, where are you going? Mummy called out after him. Charlie was outside laughing. I think he wants us to take them home, she chuckled. Come on, we'll buy one each. It's for charity after all. I don't think Rocco's going to let us leave without them. Okay, said Mummy, picking up Louise and paying the charity shop lady. They do look very real, and they are making me feel very Christmassy. On that note, shall we all go to Brooks' bar for a hot chocolate? Oh, yes, that sounds like a plan, replied Charlie. Rocco led the way, carrying Elmer in his mouth. He loved Brooks, and he was keen to get in and see his friend. Jasper was whining, staring up at Louise in Mummy's arms, wagging his tail frantically. Oh, here you go, Jasper, she said. You can carry Louise. You boys are so competitive. Later that day, as they walked back from Brooks, getting some rather odd looks from passers-by, it must be said, they bumped into the butcher. Good afternoon, Mr. Butcher, Mummy said. Here we all are, and we have some new friends with us today. Flo sat down quickly, stretching her neck round the corner of the butcher shop to see if anyone was around inside to give her a bit of meat. Rocco quickly sat down beside her, ever hopeful that something might get tossed his way too. Jasper joined in, as did Sassy, followed by Mummy's friend Elsie with her shopping trolley. Before long, there was quite a queue. Oh my, I do hope your new friends don't start queuing for meat too, the butcher chuckled. I'll have none left for my customers. Come on, gang, Mummy said. I think we better head back home and let the butcher serve his customers. As soon as they got in, Mummy found a nice spot for the elves, right by the Christmas tree. Placing them down gently, she looked across at Rocco and said, Now, Rocco, leave the elves alone and please leave the baubles on the tree. Rocco was really struggling to leave the tree alone. He couldn't understand it. It was covered in balls and what he thought looked just like toys. But whenever he went near it, Mummy would shout, Rocco, no, leave the tree alone. Sometimes he just didn't understand humans. He sloped off to bed, ready to be tucked in. It had been quite a day. Elmer, asked Louise when everyone else was tucked up in bed and they were sat on the lovely big squishy mustard chair. Yes, Louise. This is nice, isn't it? Really comfy. And I can see lots of trees and green out of the window. Like you said, England would be. I wonder if we will get scones for tea tomorrow. I don't know, Louise, but this is much more like it. I wonder what Santa's planned for us, though, Elmer said thoughtfully. Elmer and Louise fitted into family life with the gang with ease. Every morning, Mummy would leave for work and Rocco, Flo, Elmer and Louise would gather around the Christmas tree and talk about their lives before they arrived in the beautiful Chipping Dogbury. Flo would always be the lookout, a job she relished and felt proud to do. As soon as she saw Charlie walking up the path to take Rocco and her out for a walk, she'd give a loud bark and they'd all resume their positions. Rocco would jump onto the windowsill and wag his tail excitedly at Charlie. Flo would jump in her basket and pretend she'd been asleep. And Elmer and Louise would stand perfectly still either side of the Christmas tree. One day, instead of everyone leaving the house as usual, Elmer and Louise watched with wonder as lots of people arrived with presents and balloons and cake. Rocco and Flo were running around excitedly, and Jasper and Sassy came up the path with a lady the elves didn't recognise. They were all dressed up in their bus clothes and collars. Come on in, Mummy said, bucking into a long line of people walking up the path. Right, everyone, said Mummy. Charlie's just pulled up in her Jeep. As soon as she walks through the gate, thinking she will be taking Rocco and Flo out for a walk as normal, we will all jump up and sing Happy Birthday. Quiet now, here she comes, Mummy whispered. Flo, I know you're a guard dog, but this time you mustn't bark. Flo understood and sat quietly looking at the gate. Rocco was taking the opportunity to try to find out how he could get to the cake. Jasper couldn't see what all the fuss was about, and Sassy was just so proud of her lovely Charlie. The gate clicked. In walked Charlie, and before she could get to the house, everyone rushed out singing, Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear fabulous Charlie, happy birthday to you. Then everyone cheered and clapped, and Charlie was absolutely speechless for once, and Rocco thought she had a little tear in her eye. Thank you, everyone. This is wonderful. What a lovely surprise. Dylan, Charlie's nephew, was the first to spot the elves standing by the Christmas tree. Hello, I'm Dylan, Charlie's nephew, and this is my best friend Willow, he said to them politely with his loyal Labrador by his side. Elmer and Louise so wanted to say hi back, but they knew they must never let humans know they could talk. Ah, Dylan, Charlie said, I see you've met the latest additions to our gang. Yes, Auntie. Can't we take them to the park with us after we've had cake? As long as your mummy is okay with that and you go with some of the older children as well, then I don't see why not, answered Charlie. Thank you, Auntie. That would be amazing, said Dylan through a mouthful of cake. Let's go, gang, he shouted excitedly, grabbing Elmer and Louise and tucking them under his arms. As they crossed the road and walked down Love Lane, Elmer whispered to Louise, Did you see that, Louise? Only Chipping Dogbury would have a street called Love Lane. Once they arrived in the park, Dylan put Elmer and Louise on the swings and pushed them high up into the sky. The elves felt like they were flying, and Dylan carried them over to the top of the slide and pushed them down it, Louise's pigtails flying behind her. Rocco's schoolgirl friends, Hattie and Eva Simone, were stood at the bottom of the slide ready to catch them. Then the girls plonked the elves down on the park bench and went running off to join the others, while they were jumping in and out of the stream, running around excitedly, having lots and lots of fun. Jasper was looking everywhere for a ball, and Rocco was desperate to get in the stream, but he was frightened of water. Well, he didn't like to think he was frightened, just cautious around it. Sassy and Willow were already in the stream, splashing around, and he so wanted to join them. He paced up and down along the water's edge, giving out little barks of excitement. Elmer and Louise sat on the bench, getting their breath back and watching all this going on, when they noticed a group of older children sitting on the other side of the park. Louise, what do you think they are doing over there? Asked Elmer. They look like they're having so much fun. Flo, always on the lookout, spotted the group of older children. They weren't friends of Mummy or Charlie, and Flo knew to be careful of strangers. So when they started to come over, she barked. Come on, everyone. I think Flo is telling us it's time to go home, Hattie said, grabbing Elmer and Louise and leading the way out of the park. Oh, thank goodness you're all back. It completely slipped my mind, but the gang have their annual checkup this afternoon at the vet's. Then I have to go Christmas shopping. We have to go. We are late as it is, said Mummy, as Dylan and the others walked in the door, all rosy-cheeked from their park adventures. Everyone said their goodbyes, and Mummy, Charlie and the gang hurried off to the vet's. Elmer, said Louise when they had gone. Yes, Louise? I think while everyone is out, we should go back to the park and see if we can join in with those older children. They looked like they were having so much fun. I don't know, Louise. We shouldn't really go out on our own, Elmer replied anxiously. Oh, please, Elmer, we need to learn all about England and the people in it while we're here, pleaded Louise. Okay, Louise, Elmer sighed, but we need to be quick to ensure we get back before everyone else comes home. Once in the park, Elmer and Louise walked over to the bench where the older children had been sitting. To Elmer's delight, there was a couple of cans of drink left and some leftover burger and chips. Can you believe this? How lovely that those children should leave all this on the floor and bench for someone else to eat and drink, Elmer said. Elmer and Louise sat on the bench and drank from the half-empty cups and ate from the half-empty bags of chips left on the side of the bench. Elmer thought it tasted disgusting, but he didn't want to spoil Louise's fun. Who have we here? Asked a girl that Elmer recognised from earlier. The girl sat down between Elmer and Louise and got her phone out from her back pocket. Then she took her baseball cap off her head. The girl laughed as she got up. She grabbed what must have been her bike leaning on the fence and she was gone. I want to go back to the house, Elmer said Louise as soon as the girl was out of sight. I don't feel very well. Elmer wasn't feeling too good either, and so he quickly led the way back to the house. Flo walked over to Elmer and Louise as they both lay curled up on the floor at home, feeling very sorry for themselves. She gently sniffed them all over. You two had better straighten yourselves out by the time Mummy comes back, she said, before slowly walking back to her rather comfy blanket. She snuggled into it, giving out a gentle snore as she drifted back to sleep. Flo is so right, Rocco said. What have you two been doing to look and feel so dreadful? Elmer explained to Rocco that they just wanted to fit in and be like the older children they had seen in the park, who he thought had looked so cool and seemed to be having so much fun. So Louise and him had copied them, eating and drinking, but now they didn't feel cool at all. They just felt dreadful. Rocco listened intently to what Elmer was saying before he replied. Came to chipping Dogberry. Sometimes I would feel a bit sad because there were no other dogs that looked like me. Mummy said to me, Rocco, you are unique, and that makes you very special. There is no other dog like you. When Mummy said that, I started to feel very happy. So if I was you, I'd just be yourself, Elf. Rocco continued thoughtfully. I don't know how to explain it, but when you are truly yourself, it's like you've swallowed the moon. Elmer didn't really understand what Rocco meant, but he did like what he was saying about being yourself, Elf. That's what he'd do in the future, Elmer decided. He'd just be himself, and then hopefully he'd never feel so bad again. Flo suddenly started barking, snapping Elmer out of his thoughts and swishing her tail at a frantic pace. Yes, Mummy's home, Rocco said, and both he and Flo ran to the door. Hello, darlings. How have you been good while I've been out? Mummy said as she walked in with 2 bulging shopping bags. Flo and Rocco excitedly, both trying to get her attention and peek into the bags. Rocco rolled on his back, ready for a tummy rub, and Flo was doing pirouettes. But Mummy was not impressed as she could see Elmer and Louise lying on the floor, legs and arms akimbo, and all the baubles from the Christmas tree strewn over the carpet. Rocco, what have I told you about doing zoomies around the house? Mummy said crossly. You've knocked everything over. Really, Rocco, you need to calm down. Rocco felt very sad inside because Mummy over Elmer and Louise, and he sloped off to his basket with his tail between his legs. Oh, never mind, said Mummy. No harm done. Here you are. Have a biscuit. She could never be cross with Rocco for long. The following day, Mummy woke up and felt a little bit mean for telling Rocco off so soon as she had got through the door the day before. She decided they'd go on one of their special days out with Charlie and the gang, and they could take the elves for Rocco and Jasper to play with. Wow, thought Elmer and Louise, this is so exciting to be out in the Jeep with the gang, and it is Christmas Eve, the most important day of all for elves. The Jeep slowly came to a stop, and Jasper and Sassy started to howl with excitement. Rocco and Flo wagged their tails frantically as Mummy and Charlie started to put on their leads and gather up their bags, which were full of toys and treats for everyone. Rocco grabbed Elmer in his mouth, and Jasper did the same with Louise, and off they went. Elmer and Louise so wanted to blink with sheer astonishment. This is just like home, they thought to themselves, just without the snow. There were tall conifers neatly lined up, row upon row, the deep green grass, and a lovely fresh smell of pine in the air. There was masses of green space. It was just epic. Rocco, Sassy, Flo and Jasper sniffed and ran in and out of the trees, while Mummy and Charlie followed behind, trying to keep up. Come on, gang, let's head over to our special house. The elves will absolutely love it, said Rocco, leading the way excitedly. Hey, Rocco, is that you? A man shouted from the window of the most beautiful house that Elmer had ever seen. In fact, was it a house or was it a castle? Elmer wasn't sure, but he could see Louise looking at him with eyes wide open with awe. In her eyes, it was definitely a castle. He could tell. Rocco, meanwhile, was wagging his tail and running up to the window as he realised it was his friend shouting out to him, the lead singer from the band he'd met once at a festival, the day he had become a true rock star. Mummy and Charlie went over to say hello as they recognised the singer too. He explained to them that he and his band were staying there at this magnificent house while they were on tour. The next thing they knew, a lady came out of the very impressive blue front door, carrying a tray with mugs of steaming hot chocolate, 4 bowls filled to the brim with warm, milky water and some homemade scones. Louise couldn't believe it. All her dreams of England had come true. As it was so bitterly cold, everyone was very thankful for the warm drinks and scones. The singer of the band suggested that Mummy and Charlie should take Rocco and the gang to the other side of the woods, where there was a rope swing. Rocco thought that sounded awesome, so they said their goodbyes, wished each other happy Christmas, and they were gone. What's all the excitement about? Asked Mummy, as Flo, Rocco, Sassy and Jasper all run over to the same spot in the bushes, frantically wagging their tails. Wait, Charlie said in a stern voice. Charlie marched over to the spot. She couldn't see anything, but she could hear a tap, tap, tap noise. Come over here, she called out to Mummy. I think there's something moving in the bushes. Oh, I see it, said Mummy. It looks like an old tin can, and it appears to be banging against that tree. Oh gosh, said Charlie, it's a hedgehog. It's stuck in the can, and it's banging against the tree. I guess it's trying to free itself. We have to help, she said, gently picking up the can up and examining it. Charlie turned the can upside down and carefully tapped on the bottom of it. Out popped the hedgehog. It staggered to one side and then collapsed in a prickly little heap. I think we better not leave it here, said Mummy kindly. It looks a bit weak. It should be in hibernation now, tucked up warm like all the other hedgehogs. We'd better take it to the Chipping Dogbury Hedgehog Rescue Centre, Charlie. They'll know what's best for it. So the gang did a quick U-turn and back to the Jeep they went like they were on a mission. Rocco loved their days out. They were always so exciting. He'd never met a hedgehog before, but Sussy had. She told him to leave them well alone, as they might look like a little ball but they were spiky, and if he went to pick one up, it would hurt. He smiled to himself. He knew she cared. Thankfully, they didn't take long to get to the rescue centre. Once they were there, they were greeted warmly by a lady who had a good look at the hedgehog. To their relief, she said, "This little chap will be fine. He just needs a good meal and a warm bed, and he will gather his strength again. Thanks for bringing him in. Not everyone takes the time." "It's no problem," Mummy said. "We were worried about him." "You're certainly very busy here," Charlie remarked, looking around at the full cages everywhere. "I know," said the lady. "We'd be a lot less busy if people picked up their rubbish so the hogs didn't get stuck in it." "That's terrible," said Mummy, thinking to herself that she'd put up a sign next time they went to the woods to remind people to take their rubbish home. Well, said Mummy, as they all got back into the Jeep, what a day that was. Our day out didn't go quite to plan, but what a lovely, happy ending. Everyone was looking back at Mummy, smiling in agreement. They were all calm and quiet, and a magical glow seemed to surround them. Even the Jeep seemed to be smiling. But then Mummy realised she'd left the headlights on. Come on, Charlie, she said, let's go. It's Christmas Eve and we've got a lot to do. Yep, we can't just sit here grinning. Homeward bound, Jeep, said Charlie, being as silly as ever. Rocco knew the Jeep couldn't really drive itself. That evening, after their magical day's adventures, the gang went to bed early, as it was Christmas Eve. Mummy said it was going to be another busy, special day the next day, and they'd need their rest. When all was quiet, Elmer and Louise took up their usual positions in the big squishy mustard armchair by the window. All of a sudden, Elmer saw a flash of light, and he nudged Louise, who had fallen asleep. Look, Louise, said Elmer excitedly, there's Santa and his sleigh. Louise jumped out of the chair and started waving frantically with Elmer. Santa, Santa, Elmer cried, over here. Hello, Elmer. Hello, Louise. Have you enjoyed your stay in England? The reindeer were quietly munching on the carrots that the children on the street had left out for them. Oh, yes, Santa. We've had a lovely time. The people here have been so kind, and we've learnt an awful lot about England and castles, and we've had scones and... Elmer stopped himself mid-sentence. He was just going to say, and beer, but then realised he might get into trouble. And, Santa asked, encouraging Elmer to finish his sentence. And, said Elmer, thinking quickly, I've learned that you need to be yourself. Yes, be yourself, elf. That's my new favourite saying. Santa laughed. Jolly good. That's a good lesson to learn. Louise could sense Santa was about to leave, so she quickly piped up, Santa, do you think you could do something special for the people here? They've been so kind to us and we've had such fun. Well, Louise, as you know, I'm very busy, especially tonight, Santa said, but I hear your friends took the time to save a little hedgehog, so I guess I can find the time to do something kind for them. But now, my dear elves, I have to go. I will see you soon back in Lapland. Take care. And with that, Santa was gone. Oh my gosh, said Mummy, running down the stairs in her pyjamas. Come on, Rocco, come on, Flo, outside now. Rocco had never seen Mummy so excited, and he couldn't help but join in the fun, frantically wagging his tail and practically pushing Flo outside. Can you believe this? Shouted Charlie, who was already outside with Sassy and Jasper. It's snowing on Christmas Day. Charlie and Mummy couldn't stop laughing as the rest of the street joined them outside. Everyone was in their pyjamas, running up and down in the snow, picking up snowballs and playfully throwing them at one another. Rocco suddenly remembered Elmer and Louise, and he dashed back in the house to get them. Where are they? Thought Rocco. They weren't by the tree. They weren't in their chair. He ran back outside to see if Jasper or Sassy had seen them, but they hadn't. As he went back inside the house to have another look, Mummy followed him in and saw straight away that the elves were gone. Looking back at Charlie, who was coming in with the rest of the gang for a hot chocolate, she said, What's this? There's an envelope under the tree, where the elves were. What's inside it? Open it now, cried Charlie. Oh my gosh, said Mummy. Look! Enjoy the snow, our dear friends in Chipping Dogbury, and thank you, Rocco. We'll always remember that the best thing to be in life is yourself. Elf. The end.